Afternoon, shipmates. It's that time again, a proper lunch. It's 1 o'clock. It's Thursday. No idea what the date is, but welcome. It's lovely to see you, and lovely for you to see us, of course. So you join us again live from our bunkers, 3 bunkers today. Now, you may notice somebody's missing. That'll be Stephen. Stephen's in his car due to bad planning on my part, but let's not go there. He'll join us when he can. I'm hoping he'll have some kind of pastry that we can discuss when he gets there. Of course, we're going to talk about our lunches and the various different ways that we have lunches, and if any of us got sponsored by anything, then obviously that would be it. Yeah, good. So we'll come on to those things. As ever, you're welcome to chat in the comments down below. Johnny will spot those because he is our tech sponsor. He's also a tech genius and an all-round nice guy, and he's handsome and gorgeous and good-looking. Where did you write that, Johnny? Hang on, that's all right, I got it.
Just keep reading. Just keep reading.
Yeah, handsome, gorgeous, good-looking, eligible. Eligible? Did I? Oh, I made that bit up. Sorry, mate. But anyway, so write to us. Tell us your thoughts. Join in the conversation. Today, twofold: marketing as ever, the news, what's going on in the world as ever, lunch as ever, me drinking non-alcoholic alcohol as ever, but then a new side to the proceedings today, in that we've got our mate Jules White with us. Now, there's some stuff you need to know about Jules, but we'll talk to Jules and she can tell us rather than me give her the intro. But all I would say is I've known Jules a very long time, and she's probably one of the most courageous entrepreneurs I have ever met. Honestly, I mean that. And that's cover your ears. She's just an incredible entrepreneur, and like I say, brave. And we often talk about this when we're talking about our clients and the different ways that we help businesses move forward. And it's bravery, so often bravery is the bit that causes people to become entrepreneurs. It's bravery that causes people to start businesses from a comfy job. It's all those things: bravery to borrow money, bravery to borrow enough money. And quite often we have these conversations about brave enough to buy the car, brave enough and smart enough to understand where the journey is and where you want to go, but not brave enough to afford enough fuel to put in it to get there. And it's that part and kind of conversations around that, which are marketing, selling, all part of that same groove. But of course, we profess to be marketing strategists, marketing experts, marketing, all those words. And we completely get marketing. We live marketing every single day. That's our life. But of course, today we're joined by Jules, who's completely the other side of the fence. Even though she has a good command of the marketing stuff, I know, because we've worked on a project before where it was full of marketing, wasn't it? Which is great. But Jules's groove is sell it. Jules trains people to sell. Jules helps people understand why they're not selling and puts them in the right lane so that they can sell. Well, I'm going to let Jules talk. Jules, hello.
Hello. That was lovely. Thank you, Paul.
It's good to see you.
You're very kind. I have put the money in the post.
Grand. And I've got yours is beautiful and gorgeous and lovely and fluffy and happy, and so I've got it all. I'll read it out.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, do that. Don't forget that bit. Thank you. It's so nice to see you. We don't see enough of each other really, but it's lovely, and it feels like I saw you yesterday, which is always good, isn't it?
That's grand.
Yeah, I mean, we are different sides of the fence, but there's this whole debate, Paul, and I'd love to sort of talk about this a bit, where actually sales and marketing are closer than they've ever been before. And I think because of the way the world's changed, the online world that we live in, when I first started to sell in 1985, I know. People are calculating now, aren't they?
Yeah, you're only in your late 20s. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I am 21. And, we didn't have computers. We didn't have Google. We didn't have the internet. We could go out and tell anybody anything. And literally they would believe us because they couldn't check. How could you check whether I'm number one in the world or not? But you can now. And so I think there's a whole different shift now in how we show up and how people buy, and that's been such an amazing journey to watch change and evolve, hasn't it, Paul?
Oh, it's incredible. It's so immense, and we're gonna pull that journey apart because it'd be interesting to hear your views on it. But firstly, we need to say hello, Johnny. Hello, Johnny. Is he frozen? Oh no, he's there.
How are you doing?
He's there.
How are you doing, Johnny?
Yes, very good. Thank you, Paul. Very good.
Great.
I've had a lovely morning. It's nice that the weather's actually cooled down a bit because the sun does start to come in my window at this time of day. So actually today's quite pleasant.
Love that. Good. Well, it's nice to see you, and do contribute, because Johnny tends to be the silent partner of the three of us, in that I end up talking the most. Stephen then takes over and talks the most more, and Johnny just chirps in. But when he does, they're usually priceless nuggets.
Yeah, that's it.
But anyway, nice to see you. So now let me ask you, Jules, the selling journey. We're often asked, what actually is marketing and what does marketing do? Why does marketing and sales fight? And what's the difference between marketing and sales? And so the answer to what is marketing, quite simply putting what's for sale under the nose of the person most likely to buy it. And if you unpack that sentence, that's got all the sort of elements of what marketing is. What marketing does is creates opportunities. So in theory, our marketing would send a message to the right set of people at the right time and cause the phone to ring. But at the point someone needs to pick the phone up, I think of Jules. That's Jules's department from there on in. So what is it that's first sparked? Let's go back a bit. What was it that sparked your interest? Why selling as opposed to farm management or hot air ballooning?
Well, I tell you why originally was because I grew up in a sweet shop. My dad ran the local newsagents on the precinct of shops. And back when I was young, that's where we went to do the shopping, the greengrocer, the baker, the butcher. We didn't go to Tesco's superstore. And Dad ran the newsagents. And so I spent a lot of my time in the shop watching my fabulous father serve his customers. Everybody knew John. He knew everybody. He knew exactly what they had. He'd have it on the counter ready when they walked in. Wonderful, wonderful memories from my childhood. And as I got older and I started working quite young, I started at 16 with NatWest Bank. I immediately knew that the most exciting thing about going to work was the people I was meeting and how different they all were. And I kept thinking about my dad and how he created these amazing connections and relationships with all these people, all sorts of people from all sorts of walks of life. That was why I think I was attracted to sales, because I think that's the most exciting thing about it.
Okay, that's fascinating. And do you know, if we push forward, we'll come backwards again, because I am all over the place. But when we push forwards, I know that you launched a virtual high street based on your logic of this is how people interact. It was very much that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The community of other businesses and so on. You've built an online high street, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. So in September, which was almost the back end of that first big lockdown, I finally launched a membership product, which I'd wanted to do for a long time, but it kept going down the list. As you said to me earlier, these things just go down the list. And then I thought to myself, if I do a membership, I don't want it to be just a membership like anybody else's. I'll theme it. Okay, that's fun. What shall I theme it? So I thought, well, it's got to be a high street because it's got to be based on Dad again. I lost Dad in 2015, Paul, and I lost my mum in 2012. And they were really, to anybody, they're usually huge, things in life to lose your parents.
Yeah.
It's almost like my dad is still here, he was like that a bit, and he was just this charismatic type. And so I based it around the high street because of Dad and the memories of all the lovely shops and the connections and everything. So we've got things like a sweet shop to go and get your pick and mix of learning. We've got a coffee shop to meet, network. We've got the box office to go and buy your tickets for the live events, so I've just really made it quite
incredible.
Fun. Yeah.
How do we go on that? How can we go on and have a look?
If you go to my website, which is liveitloveitsellit.co.uk, there's actually a tab which says sales membership. And so you can drop down and then it tells you all about it. And you can also book a virtual cuppa with me and I'll take you on a tour down the high street.
Oh, yeah. Oh, can we do that?
Yeah, how cool is
we'll do
that?
Oh yeah, I'd love to do that because I saw the launch and you did such a good job of the launch and you did some videos around it at the time and so on. It was really good to see.
Thank you.
And oh, good. So we'll visit that. That's grand. Now, in other news,
Yes.
in the opener, I mentioned that you are probably the bravest entrepreneur I know. That could have something to do with, here sits Jules thinking, I know, I'll create a business through a want or a need or whatever. But of course, I'm going to need some investment for that. Shall I go to the NatWest because they're my mates? Or shall I go on Dragon's Den? That was an easy one to square. What would you do, Johnny? Johnny, would you go on Dragon's Den?
You've got to be brave, haven't you?
Oh, man. Really? Tell us about that.
Well, so I had my son Sam, who is now about 16 and a half to be precise, in 2005. New Year's Day, he entered the world. And it changed my life, obviously, as it does. And I just fell in love with this little boy. And I didn't really want to go back to work. And I was working in my ex-husband's business. He was my husband at the time. And I was in this kind of real corporate world, director level. You know, it was hard work. It was a full-time job. And I thought, I'm not going back to that because I want to be with Sam. So I thought, I'll start a business. I'll start a business that sells baby products at parties. And then Sam can come with me when I sell the products. And then I'll get other mums to do it too. So we'll create a network of mums selling beautiful baby products. Yeah. That was March, which was 3 months after I had Sam. And by May, a little advert came on my computer saying, we're looking for applicants for Dragon's Den. Filled it in, laughed, told my ex-husband. He laughed too. And 2 hours later, the BBC called me. And within 2 weeks, I was pitching in the den to the Dragons.
Wow.
My 5-month-old business, Paul, which really hadn't done that much business, to be honest.
But you convinced them, didn't you? And you effectively won because they said, okay, we'll give you what you asked for, and you did a deal and you came away. Yeah,
so I had Theo Paphitis and Peter bidding against each other to invest in my business. It was absolutely mad. And we shook hands with Peter on the programme, and 6 months later, the nation got to see it because you get quite a delay, and we hadn't signed the contracts. The story is in the TEDx talk. It kind of takes over, and you can watch that. And I carried on. I ran the business for 3 years. We had £1 million turnover. We had 430 consultants across the country with inquiries from America, Australia, and Europe. So it was a really successful business. But we hadn't done that foundation stuff, Paul, which you would know all about as a wonderful entrepreneur you are. And it couldn't cope with the growth. We'd had such fast growth. We couldn't cope. We needed more investment. The partner I took on board, because I did take a business partner, wanted 75% of my business.
Ouch.
And that was hard. Yeah, that was hard because, you know, I didn't want to do that. It meant I was giving everything away and I'd be working for them in effect. So I said no, and they took me into administration and bought back the business and opened it back up about a week later. And I lost everything. Yeah. So I had a tough journey. Yeah, I had to have bounce back ability.
Well, and isn't that a good thing, the resilience? Last week on our lunch, we were talking, weren't we, Johnny, about the failure. And fear of failure, and how so many small businesses fear failure. And actually, it's the bit that makes you better, isn't it? It's the bit that brings you out and thinks, I ain't doing that again. And actually,
I just wanted to ask, so with obviously, you know, that was the end of your world at the time. That would have been an awful situation. With hindsight, would you have done stuff differently, or do you think actually, no, I was right to refuse that offer?
I think I'd have done things differently from the very beginning, Johnny. I think at that point I was right to say no, because I think when I looked at what happened afterwards to that business, everything that happened was totally not what should have happened to it. And ultimately it died in 2016. And a lot of money was lost. And I felt very sad about that because the model and the ethos of the business was absolutely spot on. So nothing needed to change, and a lot did. So that was quite interesting to watch, you know, from the sidelines. Although I didn't get obsessed with it, but I did check in just to see what was going to happen to it. You know, it was my baby. But yeah, it's easy in hindsight to say, oh, I would have done that. I think what Paul's point says to everybody is actually learn now going forward from what's happened in your past, and that's the best thing you can do, really.
Well, yeah, sometimes you know what it's like. You've either lost some money or you've bought some experience.
Yeah.
And if that's the way to look at, I no longer have the money, but I've got the experience, that's actually what it's for, and that's good value.
It is good value. I think what was hard was I was hit then by this constant stream of loss on the back of losing the business. I had miscarriage, I lost my marriage, I lost my mum, and I lost my dad, and it was boom, 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 you know, and that was the hardest part in a short space of time, just being battered, really, I think.
But then whilst all that was going on, I happen to know that you then turned author and wrote a book.
Well, I did that a bit later on from that period. But yes, when I took various jobs, Paul, I went back to work. You know, that's hard, isn't it, when you run a business? I went back to work, and I went back 10 years, you know, to being a national sales manager on the road. And then I created another career path, in essence. I learned a head of sales role, sales director role. So I've got even more experience. But then 4 years ago, I got a redundancy. To think about my third redundancy, which is also painful when you get rejected like that. Yeah. And I took the money. I had 3 months' money. And I said, I'm not working for anyone again.
Enough already.
Enough. So I started my business, which is now my Live It, Love It, Sell It business. And that was at the point where I started to write the book, which I thought would be about Dragon's Den. But actually, as it turns out, looking at planning it all, the coach I got, who was a writing coach, she said, you need to write about sales, Jules. Nobody talks about sales like this. This is great. And that's what happened.
That's really good. And you and I have sat in a room and chatted about sales, and it opened my eyes, because I've always been in the business of selling, if you like, through either marketing or actually talking to people and saying, okay, let's sign a deal and I'll exchange these goods and services for some cash. So we've all done it, haven't we? We've all done selling, and maybe we do it intuitively, and maybe we do it our way. And there's nobody really around you coaching you to say, actually, you're doing it wrong, or that's not the right way to do it. Here's the best way. But of course, what your book does say, it's the consultation of that, isn't it? It's actually the well, you'll tell us, I'm sure, but the belief in what you're saying, and that live it, love it, sell it really is what the book's about.
It is. Hi, Stephen. I don't want to not say hello to you now you've popped up. Hopefully
there's a traffic jam, isn't there?
I don't know whether he can hear us. I'll just give you a quick overview in a sense. So
I'm very sorry I am late. That sounded like a very profound question that Paul put to you, Jules. So do that first and then come back to me.
Will do, Stephen, will do. So Live It, Love It, Sell It for me was about helping people to do sales in a non-processed, non-scripted, trained way. I think that was the real purpose of it. And so I created the Live It, Love It, Sell It as what I call the sales road trip. And Live It is all about, are you fit to travel? And then Love It is planning the routes, and Sell It is reaching the destination. So it sort of turns into a journey, really. But ultimately, Paul, sales has to start with you and your confidence, your mindset, your belief, your values, your strengths, all these lovely, lovely things. Because without any of that, who's going to buy you? And so then it talks about the client. We do ideal client work, but very emotionally. We do it from a really emotional place so that we can start actually connecting emotionally rather than in that scripted. So if I was to tell you that you can make £1,000 next month, would you be prepared to sign today? It's not that. That's how we were trained to sell, Paul. And it's none of that. It's very much
those
that
days
unique.
Are gone.
Yeah, the uniqueness of you is your greatest asset. I call it the UHP. So forget your USPs anymore. It's unique human proposition now. So
that's really nice.
Yeah. So yes, it's very much about a journey of understanding who you are, what you're great at, confidence, matching it with that ideal customer, and then getting the message out there, because we still have to do an element of marketing in sales because of the online space we're in, Paul. So it's similar. This is where I think it crosses back to marketing in a sense, with the thought leadership, the storytelling, and all of that side of things. So
Oh, it's incredible.
I had a quick question. Interested in what you're saying. It's obviously the believing in yourself is one of the hardest things, I think. Certainly I suffer from the fact that I've done what I do for so long that you tend to sort of it becomes second nature. So you don't think of it as being a particularly good thing to shout about. Is that something you come across, that people don't think what they do is amazing because it's just so everyday to them?
Massive thing. Clients always come first with the fear side, which is a mixture of no one's going to buy my stuff, I'm not good enough, everybody knows what I know. Those are such typical things that people think. And of course, that's the imposter syndrome. That's the fear kicking in, fear in your head saying, why are you doing that? What are you doing? Who are you? And we do all this self-talking, don't we, to ourselves? And one of the big things is actually recovering from fear and understanding how you can position fear in a different way so that you start to realize that you do have values and strengths to bring to the world. So all of these different exercises on those subjects, they start to make up who you are, Johnny, which then you say, oh, I'm all right, really. I'm quite good. And actually the self-belief, if there's no self-belief, again, I'm not going to buy you as a customer because I won't believe that you're any good at what you do. And so it has to come from within. So lots of techniques around that, which is interesting.
You're so good. She's so good, isn't she, Johnny?
It's brilliant.
I feel almost cleansed. I'm just listening to you.
I'm so glad.
I love it. Do you know, I wonder your opinion, Jules, on the another British disease, which is that we don't like to say that we're good. So I would never say to somebody, hello, I'm a really good marketer.
Yeah.
But in sales, is that the same? Is that, and should we?
Totally the same. Again, it is we could say it's a British thing, Paul. I don't know if it's a global thing as well, but we are not built as humans to say how good we are at stuff. It's just not a thing, is it? I think there's different ways.
Unless you're French selling wine, which is the best wine in the world. There's nothing better than this.
You need to get your beer bottle quick. Look, you had an opportunity then.
I'd like to thank my sponsors today for their commitment. And I
love that. Yeah, I love that. Roll the adverts. We haven't got a skip audience, unfortunately. We can't skip past the audience. I was going to say that I think one of the best ways, I think, to show credibility and what you're good at is storytelling. And we do hear lots of people now on the back of this little word storytelling, but it's really special if you use it in the right way. I can tell you stories about how I got my TEDx talk and my experience in the den. That's not me saying, look at me, I was really brilliant. I won investment from Peter Jones. Yeah. I don't tell it like that. I tell it actually how it happened. And that is even better because you've got that real authentic side to it. So I would say to anyone who wants to potentially not brag, that's the wrong word, but tell somebody that they did something really good, put it in a story. Best way to do
amazing. And and another funny story I've got for you, Jules, and I don't know whether I told you at the time, but I think I did. I came into a big old client's in Milton Keynes just a day, way before lockdown. So I go wandering up the stairs to see my client, and his room's down there on the right, and ahead of me is obviously the big conference room. And they've got one of those funny little square glass windows with the meshy stuff like you had at school in it. And so I'm walking towards my client's office, and I look through this mesh window, and there's a stage with the lights on, and Jules on there with one of those funny little Madonna mics, lecturing probably 100 people sat in the room. So, yeah, it was you. Yeah, you were on stage, like you do.
Oh my goodness!
I got my client out. I said, "Come and have a look in it." And he went, "What?" And I said, "See that lady on the stage? That's my mate."
I feel all special now.
That was so fun.
What event was that? Because I can't. That's terrible, isn't it?
It was full out. There was a lot of people there.
There's just so many there, isn't there, Jules?
Something stopped me from flinging the door out and going, "Oi, Jules!"
And I'd have gone, "Who are ya?"
Yeah, never seen him before. Never. Oh man! But anyway, whilst we're on bravery, and you've mentioned it, and I'd love to know more about it because one of the things one of the things that I've always had is a passion for things. I'll have a passion for something. I'm a piano player, as is your son. Hey, Johnny, are you a musician, Johnny? Do you do music?
I play a little bit of guitar. I would love to learn the piano. That's one of the things I want to learn. But yeah, guitar. Not fantastic by any means.
Oh no, but that's good. You play for fun and enjoyment, and you get that, which is kind of great, isn't it?
It is great.
So you have a passion for things, don't you? And you think, I wish I could stand up on stage and tell someone how it feels to have my passion, because so many people in the world don't have a passion for something, and they're worse for it. And I grew up with my music. My sister was into horses, and she always wanted to be a policewoman on the mounted police section, and indeed she did end up doing that, which was lovely. And I always wanted to be a piano player, but I wanted to play in the pit at the orchestras, the orchestra pit.
In the theatres.
Yeah, in the West End. And that would have been my dream. But of course, I didn't get around to learning music, so I had to do it all by ear. And of course, they have no time for that in the West End.
And that's how my son plays, my son. That's exactly how he plays, Paul, and it's magnificent to listen to.
Fabulous. And he's very good, isn't he?
Yeah, he's wonderful.
But you take that passion and then you think, I know, I'll go on TED Talks. And for anybody who doesn't know about TED, TED is inspirational. Is it under 15 minutes? Is that the rules?
Yeah, it's 14 minutes, mine is. But some say they get 18, so I don't know where I lost my 4 minutes.
You were short-changed.
I was.
I shall write to my MP.
I shall complain.
But essentially, TED all over the world, all over the internet, the app is brilliant, isn't it? Yeah. And it's inspirational people effectively coming on and inspiring other people to understand their way. And this could be lunatics going on telling you must understand the flat earth. And I've sat and watched one. It was really good because the guy honestly believed, and he put really compelling, interesting arguments and all those things. I still came off it thinking the bloke's a nutter, but it was fun to watch. But there's every subject in the world covered in there, isn't there? Like the science of laughing through to whatever it is. Tell us about yours.
So I was speaking at an event in Brighton in the July of 2018 to just a really small room, about 60 of us. So it was really intimate. And the guy in the room was the curator for TEDx Brighton. And I didn't know that. And then I met him. He spoke as well. And we really connected. It was lovely because we both had stories around our fathers. So it's interesting. I connect with lots of people because they're dad stories. And I just connected in terms of Facebook and social media. We exchanged messages a few times, and I never once said, please, can I have a TEDx talk? And I so wanted to, because it was a bit on my wish list, but I didn't. And then I bought my ticket to go and see TEDx Brighton to get my first ever experience. Now, the Dome in Brighton houses about 1,700 people. So it's a wonderful venue. And 7 days before TEDx Brighton, I got a text message and it said, you've got 7 days, are you in? And I read it again and I went back to this guy and I said, are you joking? And he said, no. He said, I've never been more serious. I've got a lady who is very poorly. She's an Amazon explorer who is supposed to be speaking. She's really poorly. She has a flesh-eating disease. And I need somebody to replace her. And I thought of you. And I was like, how have you thought of me next to an Amazon explorer? I mean, come on,
Same.
But yeah, so he clearly enjoyed my talk in this small, event that we did. And so I had 7 days to prepare my TEDx talk, which you obviously now see if you look it up. And it's in front of 1,600 people in the Brighton Dome. So
unbelievable. Yeah. I was with you, wasn't I, the day before at one of your clients, literally the day before, and you were so cool, man. You were proper, honestly, so cool. I'd have been like, don't speak to me. I'm trying to concentrate. You were like, yeah, so cool. Now there's some stuff. I mean, do dive on and have a look at Jules's TEDx. It's really excellent. It does make you smile because you are so relaxed, aren't you? You are like you grew there. You grew there. It's so good. I wish I had your confidence. Now, a lot of our hubbers, a lot of our chums on our marketing hub, and indeed our Facebook group, are business owners. They are entrepreneurial. They are spirited individuals. And And some of the stuff that we talk about in our lunches, apart from our lunch, did I mention my lunch? Now,
yeah. Sorry, just
usually I like to have some food at lunchtime, but my wonderful wife, who I normally call the future ex-wife, bought for me this week a few bottles of Proper Job. And I've got to say, it's very good. But it seems to have lots of calories, which is good for lunch, isn't it? You need calories at lunchtime. And it's made with water. You've got to rehydrate, which is good. And then there's other things, barley, hops, yeast. So they're all good and wholesome things that you should have for your lunch. Now, I don't want to shame anybody, but what have you got, Johnny? Have you got anything as good for you as what I've got?
No, today I'm on just the water. I had pancakes for breakfast, and we're going on holiday at the beginning of June, and I just need to slim down a little bit, mostly to show up my brother. Good, because they're coming with us as well. So just water for lunch.
Let me ask about the pancakes. Are we talking a stack of pancakes, maple syrup, crispy bacon, eggs?
No. So they were what do they call them? Scotch pancakes or whatever. So the sort of smaller, fluffy ones, and I had them with jam. So nice raspberry jam. That's where my downfall is, because obviously raspberry jam has to be spooned on to a pancake.
Yeah, definitely.
Jules, what did you have for breakfast?
For breakfast, I had Weetabix.
Good.
I did, yes. And for lunch, I made myself a salad. I'm feeling very, very good because I'm trying to lose some weight.
Is this
acquired?
The lockdown weight that we're all struggling with at the minute?
Yes. So it's quite interesting, because when you're on these kind of online things, obviously you can just sit there, can't you, and smile, and nobody can see the rest of you.
No.
And the weight you've piled on since they last met you. But yeah, it's not massively horrible, but it is definitely weight that I have never had before.
No.
So it needs to go.
Yeah, it's the Boris pounds, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
I was on a webinar the other day, and somebody said to me, "You look incredibly well," and I said, "No, I look incredibly chubby." And he said, "I was going to say fat." But he did give me a great tip. This is actually one of my good friends. He had a good tip, and he said, "If you tip your microphone and your camera up there, you have to look up, and so therefore 2 or 3 of your chins just disappear." So, watch out for that.
There's just so much value in these sessions, aren't there, Paul?
Absolutely.
So much value.
And what did you have for breakfast then, Paul?
I didn't have any breakfast today. I completely missed it. I woke up very slightly late. My colleague, Stephen Gordon Wilson, who would normally be in that space there or that space there, he's lounging in his garden, isn't he? He's got home and he's thought, I've probably missed most of it. I'll just sit in the garden, play with the kids, have a little drink. So I missed the breakfast thing because he turned up, and then we went on to a client, and it was really great, a really good client meeting. It was good fun. They're always good fun. And we left there far too late because it became good fun. So I literally walked back in the house and found some brown bread and some proper butter, the proper butter. Excuse me. And so literally I've had a piece of bread and butter and obviously my hops, which are very important to well-being.
I think you've got a couple of proppers in there as well, Paul. I mean, you're very good at this, aren't you? Yeah. It's very good. Yeah. Proper.
And talking of butter, we have to get the pirate butter.
What's pirate butter?
So if you think about the various brands of butter that so obviously my son is massively into pirates. So he said when we were in shopping, he says, "Oh, can we get the pirate butter?" Obviously, Anchor butter. The Anchor for pirates. So that's
I love it.
Anchor is indeed the right stuff. It's from the West Country, isn't it? Like Somerset type.
I think it is. We to be honest, we tend to have that, or we have the Irish one. What's it called?
Oh, I can see it.
I can't remember. Yeah.
I have Lurpak.
Oh, do you? Is it the silver one, the lightly salted?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Very nice.
Yes. See, I'm more lean towards the Anchor.
A bit more butter. Butter, aren't you? Yeah.
Yes, butter.
Got to be butter.
So now, what I was going to ask you was, Jules, the people that will be watching us, and all sorts of people watch again, which is great. So, if anybody would like to send in a question for Jules to answer right now, you'd be ever so welcome, because she's good like that. And I just made that up for you, Jules.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Go for it.
But also, if you watch this and you've got anything that you'd like to speak to Jules about, then do put it in the comments, and we'll definitely make sure it gets to Jules, because we're good like that. But in the meantime, a lot of the times that we've done our webinars, particularly, and also these proper lunches, we're quite often getting asked for tips, and it's things like, and I haven't got any to mind, but it would be real businesses that say, you know, I've got a business to business. We have a product. We try and sell as much of it as we can. We're struggling for sales. We're struggling for new clients. We're struggling for different ways to make ourselves attractive. What can I do? How can I do it? Is that the sort of question you get asked? And if so, how do you normally answer those kind of things?
Yeah, I get asked that a lot. And it's funny, actually, because it's almost back to what we said about storytelling. And what I wanted to just add into this, if you think about, I don't know how many people watch television. I don't watch a lot of television, but when you do consume some of the adverts, it's actually quite interesting. Especially, I think, when you do what we do, Paul. I'm watching them in a different way, I suppose.
Yeah.
But there were 3 that came to mind. And one was Burger King. I can advertise here, can't I? Say what I like, can't I? Yeah. Proper marketing are obviously the best.
Obviously on the telly.
Yeah. Burger King, Vimto, and Nationwide Building Society. So there's 3 there for you guys if you want to go and mess about and look them up. Every single one of them are storytelling to you. They're not even really showing you their product right until the end. And I know this is marketing, Paul, marketing territory. But the thing about it is, it's so compelling to watch the story and then try and work out why you're watching the story and what it really means and how it then connects to the product. So that's very marketing. You can do the same in sales, because you can start storytelling about why that product is different and using stories to do that, case studies, or maybe your own experiences, you know, those things. For me, that's what makes you really different, because no one else has got your stories. No one's got your stories. They're yours. So you're never going to be pitching up with the same story. And even if you use someone else's story, here's what I think, you'll tell it in a different way. So to get the real uniqueness about who you are and what you're selling, for me, in sales, as much as marketing, the storytelling piece now is more important than it's ever been before. That's my big tip.
I have a question for you as well, and it sort of actually might flip between the marketing and the sales. But it's if you've done your homework, you've found the person you want to talk to, you've actually managed to get 10 minutes of their time, and they go, we really like that, but now's not the right time. What do you do from there on? What comes next?
I think part of this is the whole discovery call piece, isn't it? Really, I suppose when you look at it, there's a real opportunity when you have a conversation with a potential client to ask whatever you like. And what we often do is hold back on stuff, and we sort of ask the standard things that we think we can ask. And one of the big things I think we can do is have those human conversations. So if you were dating someone, for instance, or you met someone for the first time for coffee, are you going to get your script out of questions that you can ask? Or are you actually going to go dig deep, dig deep, dig deep? Because actually I want to know everything I can find out about you in order to know whether I want to see you again. And I think we need to approach that discovery call like that in sales, because we want to know whether the customer's right for us as much as whether we're right for them.
Yeah, so that two-way interview
thing. It's a two-way thing, Paul. And one of the things that often gets said is, it's great, but it's not really right for me right now. Now, that might be true, actually, but it could also be a way of them saying, I didn't really get what you're selling. I didn't see the value in it. Bye-bye. So it's a real fine piece of skill set to dig deep in your questioning, to really find out where the customer is. And if we sell too soon, we can kill sales just like that. So we've got to nurture and bring them with us in order to be able to sell them. And they might buy 6 months later. But if we do that nurturing right, they'll always remember us when they're ready. So there's a lot to say about it.
Yeah, because it's tricky to know how to nurture without annoying, I think sometimes.
Yeah, but I think it's like anything. Look, how are you feeling about this? Where's your challenges? What does it mean to you? What's the knock-on effect it has in your business? Those sort of questions will get somebody telling you about where they really are, as opposed to those kind of peripheral questions that we sort of pussyfoot about with sometimes. They don't really give us anything. So questioning, I think, is a really, really big thing to hone in on and focus in and learn on. That's a real skill set within the connection piece, I think.
Is that so? If I've understood it, good old-fashioned conversation, really.
Definitely.
The skill of ask an open-ended question, shut up and listen,
Yeah.
like we do at networking events, which we love. You go there, and actually, everyone thinks you're a nice person, don't they? Because actually, the smart of them actually ask the questions and say, hello, oh, you look well, you've changed your glasses, even if you haven't. You look better today than I've ever seen you. You haven't put any weight on at all.
They were the things you said to me when we first met today, weren't they?
Did all that. It's on the script. Johnny just sends me everything I need to know. I just read it. But that's it's actually the art of conversation, surely, is what you're saying, isn't it? It's personality led, as opposed to, hello, if I could solve the problem that you have, would you buy
it today? I think the big thing is, I always talk about life skills as sales skills, Paul, because when you think about all the wonderful skills you've learned since you were practically born, they're skills that you use to get things when you needed things, to find out and learn. How many children ask why 1 million times until they know the answer, and they have no fear about that. And I'm not saying we suddenly go to our customer and say, but why? You get where I'm coming from. It is not rude to say, I'd really like to understand why you feel that way. That would be so good to know. And it's the way you ask, because I want to be in your world, which is very different to mine, and I want to understand. And that makes the customer feel really good, because it means you care and you're listening and you're curious. Connection.
That's really
Life
good.
skills are sales skills.
Now, I have another question then. Sorry, Johnny, were you going to speak then?
I just had another question. I had another question, so after you.
Oh, okay. Mine's really long. My question's going to last hours.
Hang on, I'm just putting the kettle on.
Yes, let's have a 15-minute recess, and we'll be back for my next question. Shall I go then? Shall I ask?
Yeah, you go.
Right. So my question is, we quite often pose the question to our clients: if you had an hour, and 100 quid, how would you spend that in the marketing department? So literally 1 hour, 100 quid, how would you do it? And we have all sorts of different crazy ideas, and some brilliant ideas, and some inspired ideas, and nothing's wrong. Of course, there's no wrong answer. But it could be that I think if it was me, I would probably say, well, I would spend an hour on the phone talking to existing clients and asking them, how's things and how are we doing? And am I missing anything? And is anything coming up that I don't know about? Or do you know anybody or related to anybody that you think might be able to use what we do? Because obviously we're talking and you're enjoying it and it's working, so why would you not? So that's perhaps how I'd spend my hour, maybe looking at retention as a thing. And then if I had 100 quid, I think I might send somebody something. I might send a thanks very much to the person who helped me do something, and that could be like spend 100 quid on Fortnum and Mason and send them a nice bottle of port, or 100 quid into Flora. Is that still alive? Can you still use Interflora?
Yeah, I think so. Well, there's certainly other companies that you can use, isn't there?
Yeah. But actually, I think I would gift that 100 quid rather than maybe spend it on Google Ads, and actually zoom in on, and again, Johnny, you and I talk about this a lot, zoom in on one person. So ring one person for 1 hour maybe, and then send one person the good port, rather than send 50 people the travel port for 2 quid. It's that, isn't it? So we think that. So does it work like that in your world when you're training salespeople and they say, I wake up every day and I've got a brilliant product. I'm a nice person. I've got a shiny suit. I've got time. I've got a prospect list. I know the product. I love the company. I wake up and I think, I don't really know what to do today. Is that a real thing in sales?
Yeah, it is a real thing. And again, it crosses the lines into marketing, Paul. There's no question, especially the audience I'm talking to entrepreneurial audience. So actually remember they're wearing all the hats, and it crosses over into it. Okay, my answer, I was thinking about what my answer would be to your question. What would I do with an hour? And then what would I do with 100 quid? I think the hour I would spend doing some sort of talk or webinar so that I could have an audience that I could interact with, and I could show them who I was and what I thought in order for them to see whether it made sense and they connected with me. And
really
I mean,
good.
I have done it this morning, and
Yeah.
the comments that you get are gold, because you're suddenly getting market research in your comments, which is wonderful. So I would do that with my hour, with my hour. My £100, I would spend on a round of golf with a specific client of my choice, who was a very ideal, maybe a dream client. And I'd spend another 4 hours with them playing golf, because again, I'd be able to find out so much more about who they are and what's happening in their world. So
That's really nice. Yeah, really good answers. What about you, Johnny?
Well, actually, my question kind of follows on from that a little bit, because it's about whether the process of selling a product that is, say, £100,000 is very different to the process of selling a product that is £5. Obviously, it's going to take a lot more convincing that someone's going to give you 100,000 than 5. But is the process broadly the same?
It's a great question. It's all about what people see as value in your product. That's a big chunk of it for me, because if a product's like I don't know, let's say it's 25. No, let's say it's 50 quid, just for the sake of it, because that's a relatively low price line product. Depending on who I am, that will either be a lot of money or not a lot of money. So again, it will be about the value I see in that product, and whether I think it's worth me finding £50 out of my piggy bank because I think it's really going to help me. The £100,000 product, which I have sold, and I've taken a 2-year lead time to sell, because I've been on both sides of this, which is great. That's more complicated. It's a more complex sale, usually for the reason that there's a lot more people involved. So it's not necessarily one decision maker. So I know that isn't necessarily the case for everything, but if you want a generic kind of answer, I think the principle of us being human and nurturing somebody through a sales process is exactly the same, but depends on what you're selling and who you're selling it to is where you then have those adjustments. I think that's probably the best answer. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Really good. Yeah, cracking answer. So same question to you, Johnny. You've got 100 quid an hour. What would you spend either or both of them on?
I think, what you said is right. The networking is where I would spend the time. It's actually having that conversation with the person that I want to speak to. Obviously, most of that time will probably be getting through the gatekeeper to actually speak to that person. I am looking at the moment to try and start, find a golf coach, because golf I recognise is an area that I want to pursue, because I'd be quite happy having a meeting that's 4 hours around a golf course rather than 4 hours sat at a desk, because it's much better for you. And 100 quid, I think you're right. It's about creating something. We had a fantastic conversation about just Paul and I yesterday actually about creating something that people don't see. There's so much junk that you can buy and put your brand on it and send it to everybody, and everyone goes, oh yeah, great, another one of those, and it goes in a drawer or whatever. But creating, if you've got £100 and you can spend £100 on one thing that's completely unique for one person, that person's going to then pay attention. So that's where I would spend the money and the time.
So you talked about gatekeeper, Johnny. That's another thing that comes up a lot, isn't it? Oh, I can't get past the gatekeeper, or I can't get to speak to the person that I really want to speak to, because that's really the starting point of sales, is trying to get the decision maker. Obviously, influencers are just as important, and they can be more important sometimes. But a couple of the things that came to mind when you were saying that was when I'm working currently with a client who's in an industry which is actually gaming and gambling, would you believe, which is a very complicated industry, fascinating. And they did a campaign, which again was probably crossing into marketing, Paul, where they made biscuits, which were bespoke made biscuits with their branding on, because they're known for great coffee at an exhibition that they couldn't go to because of COVID. So they sent everyone a biscuit with a postcard saying, we can't meet you face to face. Why don't we have a virtual coffee together? And that campaign was massively successful and actually opened the door to conversations, sales conversations with decision makers, because it started with a biscuit, you know. So I think that's another reason why I think marketing and sales, you know, I've always thought we should work closely together, Paul. But there's always been a little bit of this divide in the old days, wasn't there?
Yes.
One was better than the other, both ways, I think they thought. But now I think these things can really work well together, where you can start thinking about a different way to get to the person rather than via the gatekeeper. What can you send them? What could you handwritten postcards? Oh my goodness, who gets those these days? You know, all these things now are used as sales tactics as much as marketing, I think now. So
it's good, isn't it? And that kind of giving stuff away. Our marketing hub, which is free to join, free to be in, will be free forever. And we put all sorts of tips and tricks and bits and pieces and affirmations and confirmations about your own marketing in there, so that people can actually use it, go in and learn something for nothing. So we kind of consider that to be doing our bit. I know you do the same, don't you? You will coach and you will chat for as many hours as your prospects need you to do. And there has to be a point to it, doesn't there? At the end of it, you'd like to think that in there somewhere, there's some people that would also support you by paying you once they can afford it, which is kind of great. But it's just lovely to see that you're, I think your approach to sales and the sales attitude, which is very much what you write about in your book, isn't it? It's a mind-driven thing. It's an attitude. I remember when I used to sell weighing and counting scales. I left school thinking I was going to be a music shop millionaire, because I worked in a music shop amongst all the pianos and keyboards and guitars and all those things. And I thought, right, I'm going to buy my own music shop. So I went and got a job as a sales rep, and I was selling weighing and counting scales. So you'd put a counting scale in a stores department, put 5 nuts of the same type on it, tell it there's 5, then throw a basket on and it'd say there's 652. And then you take one off and it'd say there's 651. So counting scale. And it was a brilliant job, and I was really successful in that work. And I'm sort of only 18 years old at this stage. I've got a company car, a shiny suit, which I used to have made at Next, which was over £100. And I put my success down to one thing, and that was understanding what the customer was about to ask me. So I would go with my weighing scale, which was 747 quid. And it had this resolution, it was this big by that big, it was this much money, and it had that much of a guarantee. And I also knew the Salter alternative, which was slightly smaller, 40 quid dearer, but not as good resolution, and also not quite available in the UK yet, but it'll be coming in September. And then the Avery one, the other side, which was 250 quid dearer, better resolution, but didn't do. So I absolutely knew what was either side of my product. Because I made sure I went to the trade fairs and spent more time on their stand than mine. I went out and got the brochures. At the time, this is, what am I, 53 now, so 30 something years ago. There wasn't internet, so I couldn't sort of research them before I went. But, every single time I went in, I nailed the job, because the bottom line is you brought me in because you want a cost-effective solution, which does what you want it to do. Let's try some and we'll do a demo and it works. And here's the thing, when I've gone, I know what you'll say about me, but I mean, that was a good machine and it worked, and what a nice chap. But actually, what do I consider the Salter or the Avery version? Well, actually, to save you the trouble, is the brochures. And let's have that discussion. This one's cheaper, worse resolution. This one's much dearer, doesn't have the guarantee we have, blah, blah, blah. And 9 out of 10 of them signed for it and said, well, great, you just saved me a job. So thanks very much. So would you consider that to be great selling, or just sort of cunning, or
Paul, I've got to tell you, it was great selling when you were doing it. And I think the biggest issue is that I can just go to Google now. And that's the problem, is that I couldn't do that before. And so we could build that know, like, and trusts in such a greater format back when we started, because it was about us and our personalities and our creativity and the fact that we were a little bit ahead of the game. And let's sell the competitors as well alongside ours. That's a great idea. It's bloody genius. But today, if we tried to do that, I guess the question is, would it work? Because ultimately, what you've got to think about is your customer's already done his research. So actually, you could go in with that same format and they could say, yeah, but you didn't look at the so-and-sos, did you?
Yeah.
Theirs is if, and then they've already got that information because Mr. Google, our friend Google, has told them what's what, which is why I wonder how much. I think it's great to know what your competitors are doing, don't get me wrong, but how much do we really need time-wise to spend on that? Spend more time on showing the market who you are and your uniqueness and why they should buy from you. I think that's better invested time today, to be honest. So the UHP, Paul, the UHP is the way to go. Unique human proposition. Your greatest asset is you.
Where is he? He's down there. I dare you. No, he's down there. I dare you to spell that. Spell that.
It's like the Brady Bunch. It's like the Brady Bunch, isn't it? Oh, do you remember that?
I do, yeah.
Showing my age now.
Well, you know, because we're all in our late 20s.
Yes, yes. You'd only know that if you're
in it.
Yeah, UHP. Your unique human proposition. Listen, Bupa did an advert really not that long ago where they said there are 7 billion types of normal on the planet. 7 billion types of normal on the planet. What an amazing campaign, Paul. Wow. And it's true. There's no other Paul Thornton Kitchen on the planet.
Which is no bad thing. Oh, it's funny. Oh, I've got to say we're sort of nearing the end of our time today. But I
gone so quick.
Well, it does, doesn't it? And actually, you'll be having screen. What do they call it? Screen fatigue soon, because obviously you did your webinar this morning, which was great. And then you joined us today, and I don't imagine you're going to put your feet up, drink tea, and sit about.
I've got two more calls after this. Yeah,
I kind of guessed you might. Yeah. So, but you're an inspiration, Jules, and you're so lovely. You're always so lovely to me, which is great.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really great to see you, and what a journey. And I can thoroughly recommend the book. I will come and jump on your live it, love it, sell it.co.uk. Come and have a walk around the high street. Because I didn't do it at the time, and I'd really like to have the tour. So let's do that.
I'll send you the link, and we can book something in, and I'll show you.
Yeah, how lovely, Johnny. Thank you. Johnny is our tech partner. Johnny runs a company called Fox Wiley. They're in Milton Keynes, but work everywhere. And they are events. They're online, offline, huge events, small events. Johnny does this for us, and this is actually one of your products, isn't it, Johnny? You can do this for people. You can run the tech. And funny enough, in the green room beforehand, which Johnny also runs for us, Jules and I were saying, you can't do these things on your own. You can't be in charge of the tech. You can't press the buttons. You can't invite the guests in and out. And Johnny has a button to move the screens about to mess me up. So I think I'm looking at Jules, but then it will move. And then I've got to look over there at Jules and so on. Oh, there you go, Jules.
I'm going to look that way now. I'm going the wrong way, look.
Magic. Johnny Witchcraft. But of course, Fox Wiley's his main event, I guess, would be fair to say, Johnny, take over. It's big events.
Well, it's the big in-person events. That's the lifeblood of what we do. We like creating wonderful experiences where people can really sort of lose themselves and enjoy what we've done, predominantly in the automotive sector, because cars are amazing.
Yeah, and we love them. We love them. And I've got to say, it's a joy working with Fox Wiley because they quote you. They do a wonderful job, and the price that's on the invoice is the same as the one that's on the quote. You can't odds that, can you?
It's always good.
It is always good.
Yeah. But hey, listen, thank you so much for joining. I would like to thank one of my sponsors, who I can't remember the name of at the moment, but they do
Don't forget this.
That's it. Johnny's got a beer and a water bottle, which I will learn from for next time. Next time I will come with a concealed bottle and say, oh, it's hard seltzer. No, it's not. But anyways, Johnny, good to speak with you today, Jules. Thank you. Cheers, Johnny.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you soon. See you next time.
Absolute pleasure. See you all.